Advanced Residential Applications and Case Studies. Chapter 1. Introduction to Advanced Applications, page 14. You must be a thinking appraiser. The point of this introduction is to get you thinking about the idea of appraising complex properties using advanced appraisal methods and techniques. And this is a good place to make a point about how important it is to be a thinking appraiser in order to be a good appraiser. You might be saying to yourself, tell me something I don't already know. I have to think to be an appraiser? Well, here is why it is so important to be reminded that you must slow down and think through every appraisal assignment. When you first begin appraising residential real estate, you will be doing a lot of thinking. The first time you visit a property and examine the land and improvements, your brain may be overwhelmed with the task of noting all the relevant details you are observing. When you first go to the courthouse or log on to the clerk and assessor's offices via the internet, you may be lost in a maze of available data and research options. When you conduct your first market research and try to grasp what is happening with real estate in your subject neighborhood and market, you will be struck by the challenge of getting a handle on your market's attributes and identifying suitable comparable sales. When you first sit down in front of your computer and stare at the wonderfully blank appraisal report form, which is begging you for input, your mouth may be shut, but your brain will be saying duh. And through all of this, as a new appraiser, you will be thinking so much that your head may hurt. You will be eagerly anticipating the days when none of this is new to you anymore, so that you won't have to think so much about every little detail and every single step in the appraisal process. End of page. Page 15. Some appraisers think less as they become more experienced. But guess what is one of the greatest dangers to experienced, seasoned appraisers? They have a tendency to move too fast and not think enough sometimes, and it can get them into trouble. All of that was highlighted. Why is this? The reason some seasoned appraisers tend to work too fast and fail to adequately think through each assignment is because the job gets much easier as you go along, which should not be a surprise to any of us. The problem, especially with residential real estate appraisal, is that experienced appraisers may have a tendency to operate in autopilot mode, and that can be very dangerous because autopilot mode is not conducive to actively thinking through the assignment. In fact, often important details can escape the attention of the appraiser unless he or she applies careful thought and consideration at all times during the assignment. So one of the lessons to take from this course, even in this introduction, is to always be a thinking appraiser, especially when appraising a complex property, which requires advanced methods and techniques. One of the reasons that many residential real estate appraisers do not enjoy appraising these complex properties is because by their very nature, these assignments require the appraiser to really think, and thinking can be hard work. Appraising in autopilot mode, possible but dangerous, and definitely not recommended. That's highlighted. Typical residential real estate appraisal assignments are all unique because every property is unique, even if it looks the same as every other house up and down the street. But despite the fact that each assignment is unique, once you become experienced at appraising, these typical assignments can seem to be very much the same. In other words, nothing unusual jumps out at you in the appraisal process, and therefore nothing unusual is likely to be required of you. If you are very good, you may be able to get away with operating in autopilot mode, but it definitely is not recommended. And autopilot mode simply will not do when you are appraising complex properties. Some unusual factor is at work, and the appraiser cannot correctly resolve the appraisal problem without being especially careful to think through the assignment at every stage. This is just impossible. That's highlighted. When the seasoned appraiser gives consideration to the advanced appraisal of a complex property, you will sometimes hear the appraiser say something along the lines of, "There is no way on earth this property can be appraised. It's impossible." That is just not true, ever. Any property can be appraised, even the most complex property. But it probably can't be appraised the same way most properties are appraised. It may require the appraiser to turn off the autopilot and find another path to solve the appraisal problem. And therein lies the problem. Although it might be possible to adequately appraise a typical property while in autopilot mode, if you are a very good appraiser, the complex property can only be appraised properly if the appraiser, with brain fully engaged, really works. That's highlighted at it. Really working. That's highlighted. And it means thinking. That's highlighted. In ways the appraiser may not be used to thinking. End of page.